everybody, we're back with another video on the Mustang, but this time we're going to do a little bit different. Instead of talking about the work I'm doing on the car, or tools I'm using or whatnot, I thought we'd actually talk to the original owner of the car, my dad, Charles Corbin. So we're going to go ahead and do a quick little interview with him, talk about the car, a little history and all that with it. Hopefully you'll find this interesting and informative. My dad can usually spit a pretty good yarn when he wants to, so hopefully he can entertain us some here. So let's start at the beginning, right? I mean, that makes sense to me, right?
Normally would, yes.
I've shown the guys in other videos that we found the original bill of sale. So what led to you getting this good old girl?
For your mother. We had our car of the time was the 1964 Corvair. And your mother didn't like it because it was a stick shift. And she wanted something spiffy and neat and all that kind of thing. And so we bought this one.
Okay, good. Why Mustang as opposed to some other? I mean, there weren't a lot of options in '67, but Camaro had come out, and you've generally been a GM person when you buy personal vehicles. I mean, you've had a lot of Oldsmobiles. You got a GMC SUV right now. You've had a Vet. Those, if you go back and look at the startup videos for this car, you had that Corvette. That was your second Corvette, and you had Firebird over years. Why suddenly go to the Mustang?
Because it was the sportiest looking car on the road at that time.
Okay, well I don't disagree with that.
It had been out a couple of years. It was a good looking car on the road, and more importantly, your mother liked it.
Yes, it was always good to keep Mom happy. She lets you know very fast when she wasn't happy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you decide on the Mustang. Where'd you go to get it?
The big metropolis of Beaufort, Georgia. The Ford dealership up there was G.L. Kelly, and it was in right old downtown Beaufort, kind of behind what was then the city hall. I don't remember the street it was on, but it was not Main Street. It was one down from Main Street.
I think if I remember somewhere on that area, it said something like Hill Street.
It could be. I don't remember the name of the street.
Anyway, okay, why'd you go all the way up there? Because if I remember from what you told me, because I wasn't around obviously when you got the car in '67, but y'all were living more down closer to Atlanta proper than you were. I mean, that to get out to Beaufort at that time was a haul. I don't even know if the interstate went all the way out there yet, or not.
Don't remember. I don't think it did, but the city of Beaufort was a client of the company that I worked for.
Okay.
And we knew the city manager who knew the Ford dealer who could tell them to give us a good deal.
Okay, well that makes sense. Anything to save a penny.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so you went all the way up there. Did you already know what you wanted with the Mustang? Did you shop around? What was the process when you got up there?
We went up there, we knew basically what we were looking for, and it was simply a matter of getting them to order what we wanted. They had, this was not an in-stock car. They had to order it, I'm pretty sure. And so it took, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, for them to actually get it in and get it all prepped for us.
Okay. Now, you remember the date you actually purchased the car?
No.
No, well, I'll remind you, it was March 8th, was
Okay.
1967,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting because, you know, several videos I pointed out, there's a lot of connections with this car. And one of those, the March 8th, was actually the date that Polly and I, my wife, actually went on our first date.
Okay.
So, like I said, a lot of little connections with the car. One of the other little connections, I think I pointed this out in the anniversary video I did for the first 1 year of getting it started, was it was built on February 22nd.
All right.
Okay, out of the New Jersey plant.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the importance of February?
Someone that I know was born then.
Exactly. That's the month I was born in. What about the 22nd?
The 22nd, that was the day that your sister was born, I think.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, because her birthday is coming up very soon. But
Right.
yes, the 22nd. She was born on the 22nd day of the month. She was born. So we have manufactured on the month I was born and the day that she was born. So that was kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a neat little.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Connection.
touch of irony.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got the car. How would you compare it to the old? Oh shoot! I just can't think of the name.
The Corvair.
The Corvair. Thank you.
It was like night and day. The Corvair was the first automobile we had. It was the cheapest, absolute bottom of the line thing that they had. The one extra that we put on that car was a AM radio. Other than that, it was nothing else. No other accessories. It didn't have floor mats. It had black rubber on the floor. It was a 3-speed on the floor, and no bells and whistles.
Mm-hmm. So
Certainly wasn't air conditioned.
yeah. Well, this one isn't either. But
It had the old-fashioned air
the
conditioning.
good old 255. Right now it's got a little more, but anyway. Aside from automatic, which you said Mom wanted, what were the other options you were must-haves that you wanted on here?
An AM FM radio.
Okay.
Other options. I don't know. They offered the Sport Sprint package, which is the kind of the sporty wheel covers and the chromed air breather and a few nice special shift handle and a few things like that that just were in that package that they were offering at the time as a special.
So
Otherwise, I don't think we had any extras on it.
no, it does seem pretty. Like you said, it doesn't have air, except for the good old natural windows down air and the vents in there. Automatic, yes. I don't remember it having an AM FM radio. I know that I remember an AM radio in it.
Well, okay, maybe my memory's faulty. Maybe
Well,
that came later.
Well, you know, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. So you had the car. You have any stories you remember about driving the car? Things that happened that may have been funny, amusing, terrifying?
No, not particularly. I managed to tear it up one time and T-boned a pregnant lady that I wound up seeing her in court. That was the most terrifying experience that I had.
Anytime you go to court, it's pretty
Yeah,
terrifying.
absolutely. Other than that, it served us well for a whole lot of years. And you and I had a fun time in New York when we went up there to get the thing and bring it back home.
So yeah, that's a good point. So you owned it up to what, I think 77,
Something like that.
and you sold it to our neighbor across the street. Why did you sell it at that point?
Because we didn't need it. I think we had, I had a company car your mother had an Oldsmobile, I forget which one it was.
Oh yeah, it was a Delta
Yellow one?
88, the yellow.
Yeah,
Delta
the yellow.
88, I think it was a 77 model.
Could have been.
1967.
Could have been.
I think it was fairly
But
new.
it was a very pretty car, so we just didn't need the Mustang anymore. And our neighbor had a teenage daughter, and he wanted her to have a nice little inexpensive drive it around, so we came to an agreement and sold it to him. And a number of years later, I don't remember, 10, was it that long?
Well, do you remember, or having, because I know you paid something like $2,300 roughly for it new.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any idea what you sold it to them for?
Oh, I think it was $400 or $500.
Okay. Okay, so, good. And then, like I said, we went to New York to get it back. Because if I remember correctly, their son was down at our house visiting because he was actually in town to go see a friend or attend a friend's wedding. If
Yes, I
remember correctly.
believe that's correct.
And I was 16 or 17 because this was like 87,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. I was driving that mammoth 1977 Delta 88. Not the coolest car to have as a teenager. I know I had been begging you to try to either buy me or at least help buy me a car. And I think every other day I was coming to you with another, oh, look, Dad, this one's for sale. Look, Dad, this one's for sale. And if I remember correctly, I got well, that's nice, son. If you got the money, go buy it. Which, of course, I didn't have the money.
Yeah, that sounds like a typical answer I would have given.
Yep. So when he showed up with us and he mentioned the car was for sale, I remember being somewhat excited. What made you? Because let's at that time, he pinched pennies till they screamed. I mean, he was, and I hate to say it, but he was a cheapskate. Yeah, he did. Well,
Still am.
You're not as bad as you once were. You're not quite as bad. But, so what made you agree? I mean, because in '87, it's a plain Jane Mustang. Yes, you're the original. What made you acquiesce when I immediately went, oh, Dad, what about this car?
Well, several things. One, it had been ours, and we had bought it new, so we knew what the history was and all that sort of stuff. It was probably on the low end of the options that would be available to have you in a set of wheels, and I wouldn't have to worry a whole lot about it because it was a 6-cylinder and not a V8. And
He didn't really know a lot.
well, it's still better than the 289 that came, the other one. So all of that combined, and we were able to reach agreement with the Rosenbergs on what price ought to be, and planned a kind of a fun thing to go up to New York and get it.
Yeah. Well, that was certainly a fun trip. I remember we flew up there
Right?
all the way
To
to
LaGuardia.
LaGuardia. It was the same year the Mets were in the World Series.
Yes.
Back when you could actually have sporting events,
Unlike today.
unlike today. And that was a big deal. So we watched, I think it was the last game of the series there at their house.
Yep.
Had a big party. Then, of course, we went the next day into New York.
Yep.
The city proper, did the tourist thing, went and saw the Empire State Building, saw the World Trade Center when it was still
When there were two of them,
Yeah.
yes. We actually went on
up
top
there.
of it.
Yep. Went to was it the fish market, I think, there, or pier, whatever.
Yeah, on the East River, I think it is, and they had a old sailing ship, and they turned it into quite a tourist trap. But it was still nice.
It was nice. And drove by the Intrepid, the aircraft carrier. Didn't get
Yep.
to go see it, but anyway. So And then the next day, I think we hopped in the car and
Took off.
took off back towards Georgia, big old A-town here. What do you remember about that trip coming back?
Let's see, we had some mechanical problem. What was it, the generator?
Well,
Alternator?
Yep.
We had to work on that on the road. With
Yep.
whatever we could,
Cobbled together.
yeah, to do it with. And I remember that we stopped in North Carolina.
Yep.
To see the battleship North Carolina.
Yep.
And after that, I think it was pretty straight shot
Yep.
back home.
But yeah, that alternator thing, because I remember we were driving at night, and it's like the radio started to go, volume kept going lower, and then we started noticing the lights go dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Turned off the radio, and the lights came back up a little bit, and then it started, and you know, I think you were the one that figured out it was probably the alternator, because I didn't know squat about cars at that time, other than you turn the key and it cranked, hopefully, and you had a gas and a brake, and I could change a tire. But that was about the size of it. So yeah, we did. It was kind of, I think we did that in the hotel parking lot. Changed out the alternator there. We got I don't know how we got the new. I guess we
I
were
don't
in Negro,
remember now.
or got it. I don't remember anyway. But we did that and got home there, and there it kind of went. We've had a lot of fun. Well, I had a lot of fun in it since then. So he can't get in too much trouble with this if he only knew. Yeah.
I'm glad I don't.
So, with all that, what do you think about where we are now with the car?
I love it. I'm so pleased that you took it on as a project to restore her to a functioning, good-looking machine, because she is a pretty car.
Oh, she's
Beautiful.
gorgeous car.
Mhm.
So this color, in which I love the color too. Maybe that's because I've grown up with yellow cars all my life. Why this color as opposed to red, blue, white? You know, some of the more common.
Well, I can't really say other than when I was growing up, we never had a yellow car.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm a yellow jacket, maybe that's why. Because we've had a whole lot of yellow cars. I guess this is the first one we had that was yellow. And then the Oldsmobile you talked about, and the yellow Corvair. So we've had a whole string of yellow ones.
So, well, and I think it's a nice color.
It is not as common as every other color of car that you see on the road.
Absolutely, and I think it's nice. It stands out, but it's not too harsh like some school bus yellow type vehicles and things like that. But I really do. I intend to keep it this color.
Well, that's the as it came from the factory color.
Yep. Well, I think this is the original paint job on it,
Yeah,
too.
I think so. I
I
don't
think
know.
it's the original paint.
Yeah, other than few spots.
Well, yeah. Well, that's rust repair I did back in
Yep.
high school.
Mm-hmm.
Then, do you know where this dent on the front fender came from?
No, I don't know where that one came from.
I'm thinking that was only when we brought it back from New York.
Could have been.
I think so,
Could have been. That might have been Ellen or Richard.
probably. If this was your car to restore, do you have any or what you would like to see done to it? Or you don't care as long as it's back on the road?
As long
in
as
decent
it's
shape?
back in decent shape. If I were doing a restoration, I'd probably go for more original, as off the
Stock.
assembly line stock type
Mhm.
thing. But everything you're doing to it, I think is marvelous. I don't really have a problem with what you're doing.
Well,
And you can understand some of the changes that have occurred because of the technology. I'd love to be doing it, but I've reached that point in my life where that's not really a very viable option anymore. So,
Well, I intend to keep it mostly stock. I'm just trying to upgrade a lot of the safety features and
I
all those
understand.
kind of things, just because I want to make it a nice, safe
sure.
weekend driver and take Polly or kids or whatever in it and get them to experience what it's like to drive in an old car like this. I mean, driving this car compared to driving Polly's Mustang over here is night and day.
Well, I guess the analogy that I would make is that the age of this car would be like when I was growing up, we had a 1955 Buick.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took the age difference between now and this car, from 55, you'd be back to a 1905 something or other.
Yeah.
To show you the changes that occurred during that period of 50 years.
So yeah, it's like I said, the non-power steering, non-power brakes.
Those are all extras.
Those are all extra. It's like I said, it's very different driving vehicle, and to see somebody of this time frame trying to get into one of these and drive it,
Well,
it's
the most creature comfort changes that have occurred is the power steering for one,
mm-hmm.
and the other would be air conditioning. And those two things that have come about since this car was done have made driving a much more pleasant experience.
Oh yeah, there's nothing quite like being in this car with the black vinyl interior in
middle of summer
in Georgia, sitting in traffic,
the sun bearing down on you.
And yeah, it's an experience. Well, it's a funny thing to raising my great niece. She's infatuated with the manual roll-up windows. She thinks that's the coolest thing to sit there and crank and watch our window go up and then go down. She'll sit there and just run it up and run it back down and back up and back down again. She just thinks that's the neatest thing in the world.
When you tell her that's the way they all
Used to be. So, I said it's just fun to show them the stuff. So, well, I appreciate you sitting down and chatting and sharing a couple of little stories. There is one story that I remember, and I know I've shared this in the past, but it is associated with this car.
Mm-hmm.
If I remember correctly, y'all got rid of the Corvair. I think it was in a wreck too.
Mm-hmm. Me again.
Yeah. Okay, so he gives my wife a hard time and nicknames her Crash. And you see what's going on here. He's speaking from experience. But anyway, you got her that 72 Oldsmobile Cutlass.
Yes.
Which is a four-door blue car with a white vinyl top, if I remember
That is correct.
correctly. And so when she got that one, because I think that did have air conditioning and power steering and some things like that.
Yep.
You got past this one.
That's correct.
So, and you used to come home for lunch
Yep.
a good bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I seem to recall you came in for lunch, pulled the car into the carport.
You're going to bring that one up.
Uh-huh. And he comes in, he eats his lunch, and then it's time to go back to work. So he goes out to get in the car. And next thing we hear is a big yowl. And in he comes, running into the house, dropping his trousers. He sat on the yellow jacket, which I think is kind of ironic. There. Again, that's the drawback to having to lower the weight. It's yellow jacket in there. So that's one story again. I couldn't have been more than that tall, 3 or 4 years old at most, because I was 4 when we moved into the new house. It's not new anymore, but when you're living in now.
Yep.
So I had to be tiny to remember that one, but yeah.
Yeah, but I still remember to this day that hurt.
Sure it did. So, any other kind of stories like that you can think of?
It may be, but I don't want to repeat.
We don't want to. Okay. Okay. Well, with that, again, thanks for sitting down and sharing some of the stories about the car. You have anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I'm gonna say, don't mind sharing it with you, and I hope all of the continued success that you have with it, and look forward to when you get her finished taking a ride with her.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting to that point as well. I did get her cranked this morning.
Good.
Again, so we've been 2 weeks or so since I
Uh-huh.
cranked her, but she's now running on the new wire harness that my mom got me as her last gift. With that, folks, I hope you've enjoyed sitting here listening to us talk. Maybe not be the most exciting thing in the world, but I think it was kind of fun to sit down with the guy that bought the car brand new in '67. So that. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Give the video a thumbs up if you really liked it. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down. Leave comments. If you have questions for the old guy here, post them and I'll make sure he gets them. He does watch the channel occasionally, so he might see them. I don't know if he'll respond because he doesn't usually do those kind of things.
No,
but,
I don't respond very well.
but I'll get you answers. And so with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks, everybody.